North West is 12 years old and already generating more controversy than most adults twice her age. That's not an accident. That's a pattern.
For years, the conversation around celebrity kids stayed pretty quiet. People watched, people whispered, but nobody with a real platform said much out loud. The unwritten rule in Hollywood was simple. Children are off limits. You don't comment, you don't criticize, you don't touch it.
I don't know what it is. I thought it was a phase. She does not like her brother. It's so hard for me, and I thought it was like, okay, a couple months, like.
That rule is breaking down fast. Two names are sitting at the center of this right now. North West, daughter of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, and Blue Ivy Carter, daughter of Beyoncé and Jay-Z. Both girls born into dynasties, both growing up in front of cameras that never blink, and both now drawing a level of public attention that's making some of the biggest names in entertainment speak up for the first time.
What they're saying is complicated. Some are defending these kids, some are raising questions about the parents. A few are saying things that are going to make you stop and rewind.
This isn't a gossip story. It's actually something bigger than that. It's about what happens when celebrity culture collides with childhood, when fame becomes inherited before a kid is old enough to choose it, and when the adults around those kids start drawing very different lines about what's acceptable.
You know, she's just warming up to it. She gets so jealous, you know, when I would breastfeed and all that kind of stuff. And now, the phase isn't going away.
The pressure has been building for a while. Social media lit the fuse. A string of recent public moments pulled the pin. And now voices that stayed silent for years are finally talking. Some of what they're saying is compassionate. Some of it is pointed directly at the parents. And at least one comment that's been making the rounds this week crossed a line that nobody expected a celebrity of that stature to cross.
By the time this is done, you're going to see this situation very differently. The story starts earlier than most people realize, and it runs a lot deeper.
To understand why celebrities are speaking now, you have to go back to how both of these girls entered the public eye, because neither of them had a quiet introduction to the world. Blue Ivy was born in January 2012. Within hours, Jay-Z had released a song about her birth. A recording of her crying in the hospital studio ended up on a Grammy-nominated track before she could walk. She won her own Grammy at age 9, making her the second youngest winner in the award's history. 9 years old. That's not a normal childhood milestone. North West arrived in June 2013, and the circus around her was immediate. Kim and Kanye kept her off camera for a while at first, but that window closed fast. By the time North was old enough to hold a phone, she was already appearing in fashion campaigns, sitting front row at shows, and building a social media presence that most working influencers would envy.
The question people started asking quietly, then louder, was the same one. Did these kids have any?
That question got a lot more complicated when Kanye West started doing interviews again after years of public chaos. He said things about his own family that shocked people, things about Kim, things about control, things about the life his children were living. But one comment that didn't get nearly as much attention as it deserved was what he said about someone else's daughter entirely. During a candid stretch of a longer interview, Kanye brought up Blue Ivy unprompted. He said she was being groomed for a legacy she didn't ask for, and that the music industry's habit of packaging children as brand extensions was something he had seen destroy people from the inside out. Coming from Kanye, a man managing his own daughter's rising public profile, the comment hit different. People noticed the contradiction immediately, and that was just the beginning. Kanye pointing fingers at Beyoncé and Jay-Z while simultaneously managing North's public image was not lost on the internet. Screenshots got pulled, old clips resurfaced, and suddenly a much larger conversation started forming around both families at the same time. Kim Kardashian watched all of this unfold in real time. She had her own chaos to manage with Kanye, her own press cycle to navigate, and a daughter who was becoming increasingly vocal and visible on social media. North had started posting content that felt raw, unfiltered, and sometimes uncomfortably adult for a girl her age. Followers were divided. Some found it charming, others found it alarming. Kim's response to the criticism has been consistent, and it's been loud. Every time someone raises a concern about North's online presence or public exposure, Kim pushes back hard. She frames it as supporting her daughter's creativity, her confidence, her right to express herself. In multiple interviews, she's argued that shutting North down would send the wrong message about female empowerment and self-expression. What critics hear, though, is a mother who has built an empire on visibility and simply cannot separate that instinct from her parenting. That tension between protection and promotion is something a lot of child development experts have flagged publicly. A few therapists and psychologists with large platforms started weighing in around late 2023, and their commentary spread fast. The core argument was straightforward. There's a difference between allowing a child to be seen and actively building a child's personal brand. One is parenting. The other is management. The problem is that in the Kardashian world, those two things have always lived in the same house. And Kim isn't the only parent getting scrutinized here. Beyoncé has stayed almost completely silent on the growing attention around Blue Ivy, which has created its own kind of noise. Silence from someone that powerful reads as a statement all by itself. The question people started asking next was whether that silence was strategic or something else entirely. Beyoncé's silence has always been part of her brand. She controls the narrative by choosing what doesn't get said as carefully as what does. But Jay-Z operates differently. He talks, not constantly, not carelessly, but when he decides to open up, the things he says tend to land with real weight. Jay-Z has given a handful of interviews over the past 2 years where Blue Ivy came up organically, and what he described wasn't the polished, curated image most people project onto her. He said she's opinionated, stubborn in the best way, and that she pushes back on both of her parents without hesitation. He laughed when he said it, but the picture he painted was of a kid with a serious internal compass, who doesn't just absorb whatever the adults around her decide. That portrait of Blue Ivy is genuinely interesting because it complicates the narrative. The concern a lot of people have raised is that celebrity children get shaped and molded by their parents' brands until there's nothing left that's purely their own. But Jay-Z's description, if you take it at face value, suggests Blue Ivy has some real resistance built in. She's not a passive participant. She's a kid with opinions. That said, opinions don't cancel out exposure. A child can be headstrong and still be placed in situations that carry long-term consequences. Winning a Grammy at 9 is an extraordinary thing. It's also a weight that follows you forever. Every creative project she touches for the rest of her life will be measured against that moment, and she had no idea what she was stepping into when it happened.
The adults in the room made that call for her. And that's exactly the kind of thing celebrities with their own kids have started commenting on directly.
Some of those comments have been supportive. A few have been pointed, and one in particular set off a reaction nobody saw coming. The comment that cracked everything open came from an unexpected source. Not a rapper, not a reality star, a filmmaker with serious credibility and a reputation for saying exactly what she means without caring much about the fallout. Ava DuVernay, director of Selma and When They See Us, gave an extended interview where she was asked a broad question about representation of Black children in media. She didn't name Blue Ivy or Northwest directly at first, but she talked at length about what she called the monetization of Black childhood, specifically in entertainment families where legacy and brand become fused with the child's identity before that child has any real agency. Then the interviewer pushed. They asked if she was talking about anyone specific, and DuVernay paused for a long moment before saying that the daughters of two of the most powerful families in Black entertainment deserve privacy that their parents had not fully given them. She said it quietly. She said it clearly, and the clip spread within hours. Reactions split hard. A large portion of the internet applauded her for saying what a lot of people had been thinking. Others pushed back, arguing that DuVernay was projecting, that she had no real insight into those households, and that criticizing how Black celebrity parents raise their children carries its own set of loaded assumptions. The debate that followed was genuinely complicated, because both sides had real points. Yes, these girls deserve privacy and the chance to define themselves outside of their parents' legacies. Also true, criticizing Black mothers specifically, while white celebrity parents who do similar things get a fraction of the scrutiny, is a pattern worth calling out.
Kim Kardashian's team noticed the conversation. Sources close to her said she was frustrated but not surprised. She had been watching the criticism build for months.
What happened next was Kim deciding she was done letting other people frame the story. Kim Kardashian does not do quiet. When she decides to respond to something, she picks her platform carefully and she goes big. In early 2024, she sat down for an interview that was clearly designed to reset the conversation around North, and she came prepared. She talked about North's creativity, her humor, her stubbornness, her growing sense of self. She described a daughter who actively wants to be seen, who seeks out cameras, who pushes to be included in projects. Kim's argument was the same one she's made before, but delivered with more emotion this time. She said keeping North hidden would feel like punishment to North herself, that her daughter thrives in the spotlight, and that denying her that would be a different kind of harm. It was a well-constructed answer. It was also exactly the kind of answer a very smart publicist helps you build. The problem with Kim's framing is that it puts the desire entirely on the child. It positions the parent as simply following the kid's lead, as if a 12-year-old has the full context to understand what global visibility actually costs. Kids want a lot of things. That doesn't always mean giving it to them is the right call. Critics heard Kim's interview and felt more concerned, not less. While Kim was doing damage control on one side of the story, something much more emotional was happening on the other. Tina Knowles, Beyoncé's mother, made comments in a candid social media moment that stopped people mid-scroll. She spoke about Blue Ivy with a rawness that felt unscripted, saying that watching her granddaughter grow up in public was something she prayed about, that she worried constantly about the weight Blue carried without fully understanding it yet. Coming from a woman who watched her own daughter navigate fame from childhood, those words landed differently than any press statement could. Tina wasn't performing for cameras. She was a grandmother telling the truth, and the internet felt every word of it. Tina Knowles saying she prays over Blue Ivy's public life was the kind of moment that gave other celebrities permission to be honest. Once someone that close to the situation speaks from the heart, the walls come down a little. And that's exactly what happened over the following weeks.
Artists who had stayed carefully neutral started opening up, some through interviews, some through posts, some through the kind of unfiltered podcast conversation that publicists spend years trying to prevent.
FKA Twigs was one of the most surprising voices to enter the conversation. Known for her experimental artistry and her very public legal battle with Shia LaBeouf, she doesn't typically wade into celebrity family drama, but she did here, and her reasoning was specific. FKA Twigs said in a candid interview that she chose to speak about North West because she saw something in the girl's public persona that reminded her of her own teenage years, performing and creating before she had the emotional framework to protect herself from the reaction. She said North's creative output was genuinely impressive, but that impressive and ready are two completely different things. She wasn't attacking Kim. She was drawing from her own experience and placing it next to what she was watching unfold. The comment was measured, personal, and it hit harder because of that. What Twigs described, that gap between talent and emotional readiness, became a thread that other people in the industry started pulling on almost immediately. Producers, artists, and former child performers who had watched the cycle repeat for decades all recognized the pattern she was naming. The conversation was no longer just about two specific girls. It had expanded into something the entertainment industry has never fully dealt with, honestly. What does it actually do to a child to be famous before they understand what fame is? Some of the people answering that question had lived it personally, and their answers were uncomfortable for everyone involved. Former child performers speaking openly about the cost of early fame created a ripple that pulled in voices from completely different corners of the industry. People who had nothing to gain from entering this conversation started entering it anyway. Because the question FKA Twigs put on the table wasn't really about Kim or Beyoncé anymore. It was about a system that everyone in entertainment has either benefited from or been damaged by, and sometimes both. But while that larger debate was building, something more immediate was happening to North West specifically. The online hate directed at her had escalated to a level that was genuinely disturbing. Comments about her appearance, her personality, her voice, her relationship with both parents were flooding her posts with a consistency and cruelty that would be unacceptable if directed at any adult, let alone a child. Lizzo was one of the first major names to step in directly, posting a response to the hate North was receiving and calling it out as a reflection of how society treats black girls with confidence. She said, watching adults tear apart a 12-year-old for simply existing with personality was one of the ugliest things she had seen on social media in years. Cardi B followed shortly after with comments that were more pointed and a lot less diplomatic, saying the people going after North needed to look at themselves seriously. Ice Spice also weighed in, briefly but clearly, saying North was that girl and that the hate was nothing but noise from people who wished they had her life. The defense from these artists mattered, not just because of their platforms, but because of who they are. Black women in music who understand from personal experience what it feels like to have your confidence weaponized against you. Their support wasn't generic celebrity solidarity. It was specific, grounded, and pointed at something real. What it also did was pull the camera back even further, because defending North from online hate meant acknowledging the hate was real, sustained, and coming from a very particular place. And that opened up a conversation about race, gender, and the music industry that nobody had planned to have publicly. The conversation about race and gender didn't stay abstract for long. It got personal, it got loud, and it landed exactly where everyone had been dancing around for months. The real engine underneath all of this wasn't concerned for two girls growing up in the spotlight. It was a rivalry that fans had been feeding and sharpening for years. using these children as the latest battlefield. The Beyoncé and Kim Kardashian fan bases have a long history of turning every comparison into a competition. And North and Blue Ivy became the newest version of that same war. Posts ranking the girls against each other, debating whose childhood was more authentic, whose parent was doing better, spread faster than any thoughtful commentary ever could. It wasn't about the kids at all. It was adults using children to score points in an argument that started long before either girl was born. That dynamic is what makes this whole situation so hard to untangle. Genuine concern for North and Blue Ivy exists. Real questions about early exposure, parental decision-making, and the cost of inherited fame are worth asking seriously. But those questions get swallowed almost immediately by a fan culture that has no interest in nuance. Every celebrity comment, every interview moment, every candid post from Tina Knowles or Kim Kardashian gets fed straight into a machine that converts it into ammunition. The kids at the center of this don't get to opt out of that machine. They were born into it. North is 12 and already carrying the weight of two parents' complicated public histories, plus her own growing visibility. Blue Ivy is 12 and has a Grammy on her shelf that most seasoned artists will never touch. Neither of them asked for any of it. Both of them are going to spend years figuring out what it means.
The celebrities who finally started speaking up this year said the quiet part out loud. Whether the people listening were actually hearing it is a completely different question.
What started as whispers about two famous kids living very public lives turned into one of the most honest conversations the entertainment industry has had in years. Celebrities speaking up, grandmothers praying out loud, former child performers drawing from their own scars, all of it pointing at the same uncomfortable truth. Fame inherited before it's chosen comes with a cost that doesn't show up on the invoice right away. Northwest and Blue Ivy didn't choose their last names. They didn't choose the cameras, the fan wars, the comparisons, or the hate. They're 12 years old navigating something most adults couldn't handle. And the fact that people are finally saying that out loud, clearly and on record, means something. Whether it changes anything is the part we'll have to watch together. This story isn't finished. Both of these girls are still growing up in real time, and the industry around them isn't slowing down. There will be more moments, more comments, more conversations worth breaking down. If this one got you thinking, drop your take in the comments below. And if you want the stories behind the headlines that most channels won't touch, subscribe to Backstage Culture. Like the video if this hit different. See you in the next one.